I'm Ray.
And we are Orderly.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about the different organizing styles
Mm.
that we believe in.
Yeah, I mean, when we started out, right?
Mm.
I mean, I also didn't even know that there are different organizing styles.
Mm.
What do you mean, like?
Because it used to be like, if it's
Organized, tidy means tidy, no?
or like, you know, necklace is necklace,
Yeah,
earrings are earrings.
yeah. You know, organizing just means making things look neat,
Neat,
and
correct.
tidy and orderly, right? But who knew there were something called like organizing style, right?
Mm.
That was coined by Cassandra Aarssen,
Mm-hmm.
whom we learned our fundamentals and the basics of organizing from. So she founded this concept whereby she believes that there are different organizing styles. So you're either a micro or a macro organizer, and then you're paired with either you're a visual or hidden organizer. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about micro versus macro first. Like, what does that mean?
Because perfectly, I am a macro and then you are a micro.
Yes.
Yeah. So macro organizers like myself, we prefer big categories. Like you will see in my storeroom, I just put all the paper products together, tissue, toilet paper, kitchen towels, all together in paper products. I won't separate them and say like, oh, tissues are tissues, toilet paper is toilet paper, and then so on and so forth. And then even for things like toys, right? Especially Legos. My son is pretty micro when it comes to Legos because he feels like there's a need to, and then he separates things by color and then size of the piece. But to me, I just put the whole set in one mesh bag, for example, and then just dump the sets into like a huge box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like then for me, I realized naturally even before I became a professional organizer was that I was very micro in the way I organized my documents in folders. I would have folders within folders, subfolders, subfolders, and all that. And that was just a very natural thing for me to do. And then when I saw my ex-colleagues folder, it would be like just one primary folder and you open and it's like everything is in there. I can't take it. It's a bit much. Yeah. So when I personally found out about this whole like micro versus macro thing, I was quite fascinated. And it's quite real, and it made me realize that, oh wow, like it's so true, right? Like some people just don't organize the way like I do, the way like you do. Like we are quite different. Yeah. So I think that's quite clear in terms of like how refined you decide your categories, right? Then moving on, we'll talk about the hidden versus visual.
Are you more of a visual or hidden person?
I think I'm quite even.
Even.
Yeah, half.
I'm more of a hidden person.
Yeah.
I don't like things being seen out in the open. If you've been to my house, you know that nothing is out and everything is hidden like, behind doors, or even in, for example, in a cabinet or in a cupboard. The container that holds it needs to be opaque because I cannot deal with visually seeing the mess. It makes me feel very overwhelmed, and I just don't like the feeling of seeing so many different colors and so many things at the same time. I get very stressed out seeing that. But a more visual person would prefer things more out in the open, like things on shelves, things hanging up on the walls, on pegboards, and then even for containers wise, they'll prefer clearer options so they can see what's inside, and then they're more of a out of sight, out of mind kind of people.
Yeah,
right?
So for me, I think I'm largely hidden than a smaller percentage of visual. Hidden would be more like in the like the living space, just the places that I'm in, that I want to feel relaxed in, like the living room and the bedroom. Then for say the study whereby it's a multi-purpose room, right? That we do our work there, the kids play there, we store some stuff there. And because kids are quite visual, so I just went along and okay, let's just keep things a bit more visual here so that kids can find what they need. And then personally for me, even if it's behind closed doors, I'm okay if it's transparent bins inside. So I think that's what actually a lot of our clients prefer, that they are like a bit of mix. They like less visual clutter overall, but then when you do open the cupboards, you can at a glance see what you have. Yeah.
Which is where we kind of adapted what we learned from the course to the Singaporean context. Where we realized that because not everyone has the luxury of personal space, right? Most of our spaces are shared, which is why we kind of had to adapt and do a mix of styles in the home, meaning different spaces have different styles. Or, for example, we cater to the people living in the house. And what we normally say in our workshops also is that for younger children or for older folks, we go to the default of having a macro and visual organizing system, because it's easy for them to identify things when they're visual, right? It's out in the, it's a clear, they can see what goes where, but also macro in the sense that they don't have to spend much time thinking about whether they need to micro sort this item or not. It just goes into one big category.
Yeah.
So for younger children and for older folks, that makes a lot of sense, and it's much easier for them to maintain also.
But what this also means is that when you have like a 2 or 3 generational family living in the same under the same roof, usually the micro person like myself would have to accommodate, because that would mean that we have to be okay with multiple categories being in the same containers. And I think this is one of the common topics of arguments, like between spouses,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Why can't you put things back the way
Yeah.
I asked you to?
Yeah. But at the same time also, then certain things in the house are by default micro. For example, cutlery drawer, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Or like most
Tools,
people,
maybe.
stationery,
Yeah.
usually if there's a drawer or if there's a lot of this kind. Yeah, but I think that would just, but after learning about this and having many conversations about this during our workshops, right, we do hear a lot of our workshop participants being quite like wow, like jaw drop, like, oh, no wonder my family member does this.
Or no wonder what I've done before is not working out for me, because either it's too difficult for them to maintain because they are not that kind of an organizer, or it's too overwhelming for them to look at because, again, they're not that kind of organizer, right? And then back to the defaulting to the macro ones always. Unfortunately, for the micro, it's always easier for you to default to them, right? Than for them to follow your...
Exactly. It's always easier for the micro person to adapt to a macro system than the macro person following and maintaining a micro system.
Same for the visual and hidden, right? It's easier for the hidden person to go with the visual than for the visual to have to adapt to the hidden.
Yeah.
So sometimes as we live in a family, we just have to give and take. Yeah, pick our battles.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we've also encountered a couple of clients who may not know what kind of styles they are. And we're like, oh, what do you mean? Or like, I don't really understand. Like, even after using some of their storage cupboards or their built-ins to demonstrate, they may not have a clear idea of exactly what they prefer. So when they don't have that clear idea, then we would just stick with the default. Meaning if they have children or elderly, then we will go with the macro visual. But also, as part of our orderly brand, we want to keep things also aesthetic. So we're very mindful that if it's in the living room, you have guests over, we might want to keep more things a bit more hidden away. Yeah, exactly. And also, I also realized that people who are more hidden are very clear that they are hidden people.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really prefer things that are super opaque or that look nice. Like, I think some people prefer rattan bins, right? Some people prefer like the IKEA soccer bit bins. That's my personal favorite because it's clear, and then they look very nice when they're all together.
Not clear, opaque.
Oh, so that's right, they're opaque. You're right. Okay, so again, so I prefer the IKEA soccer bins, right? Because they're completely opaque, and when you put them all together, they look very nice and even and homogeneous, and then that really, it scratches an itch in my brain, right? Okay. What are some other opaque options that you've seen that you like?
I like rattan baskets, but I'm also very mindful about the fact that Singapore is very humid.
It is.
Yeah, so what I have purchased and discovered is this kind of like faux rattan bin. So it's actually made of plastic.
Is it the Nitori one?
No, not that one. I bought mine from Shopee. But it basically looks like a basket, a woven basket,
Yeah.
but it's like hard plastic.
I see.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot more durable. The kids can like drop it many times on the floor,
That's
and you
great.
can even wash it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from afar it really looks pretty real.
But then the Notori one is also that kind of
That one's
plasticky material. It's not real seagrass, right? It doesn't feel like real seagrass.
I think there's one that's a real seagrass. Oh, the other one.
There are two, yes.
The
more
orangey brown one, is it?
Yes, the more finely woven one.
Oh.
The thick weave one is seagrass,
seagrass.
which gets moldy very quickly in Singapore.
Yeah.
So we don't really recommend that.
Unless if you're like always in an air-conditioned room, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you
Other-
really want rattan, try to go for something plasticky.
Yeah.
Even though it's not real rattan, but
yeah.
they will hold up in our weather.
For opaque bins, I think for some people who still want to have like a sneak peek of what's inside, Muji has some frosted options like drawers. Even our supplier, they do offer like some frosted looking drawers, which is like pretty good quality.
I think it also provides kind of like a middle ground for the hidden and visual people.
Yeah.
So it might be easier for them to stick with that than for example, side with like one choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like right now there might be more clear options, right? More transparent options.
Especially after Home Edit got viral because they are famous, right? For having everything out in the open, everything clear, and then doing their rainbow thing. But clear options, I think we just have to be mindful of the material because sometimes they kind of warp.
Yeah, the thickness of the acrylic does
really
make a very
matters.
big difference. We've purchased some that feel quite soft and they're quite malleable. So if you put a lot of things in them, they actually can warp. Yeah, versus the better quality ones are super hard. They can withstand like, many drops on the floors. Yeah. And also I think for visual people, like one of our team members, Jo, she's very visual. She's very creative. She's visual. I know she loves like pegboards. Yeah, pegboards. I think pegboard is like one of the more interesting products that it's like so versatile.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the word I was going to use. Right? Because we've used them for toys, right? Nerf guns, like Nerf gun systems. And what else have we used them for? Like just a daily yarn.
Like a wall, just a pegboard wall of like yarn, right?
Battle station, like family battle station, right? Is that what you call them? Like a war room, but for the family, right? Where you kind of plan everything out for the family. Everyone's schedules are out.
Command center.
Yeah, that's right. And or
even like drop zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's so versatile. You can add hooks, you can add the little cups, big hooks, small hooks. There's even the elastic, what do you call it? Like tension, like cable ties, kind of rubber band kind of thing to just secure some photos.
Or even bigger things also, like I think sports stuff like tennis rackets, skateboards, and not pickleballs.
Yeah, or like it can be like a gym room kind of situation, right? Like you can put some soft what do you call it? Not the medicine ball lah, but like the soft, the Pilates
like the
kind of
foam
ball.
balls,
Yeah, and then some lighter weights can sustain, or what do you call that? Resistant bands, skipping rope, this kind of things can be on
smaller sports items.
Yeah, but I think usually the crafty people love it.
Yeah,
because it's so versatile. I've done also a craft room, and like we've put like scissors, long rulers, especially kind of like sewing type of rulers that are like pretty big, and even lots of like coloring materials, special tape and whatnot.
Great for a kids room also, I think. Headboards.
To display some stuff, right?
Stationery, just quickly grab something.
Yeah, but I think like pegboards is like one of the great ways to make use of vertical space also.
Keep things off the floor and off the surfaces, right?
Yes,
which is something that we also strongly recommend.
Yeah, correct. Yes, I think that's more for the clear visual organizers.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I feel like what we do when we work with clients, we are not so like super fixated on what style you are per se.
No.
It's still pretty much about how you live your life, how your home is designed, how your family members, or how do you want them to function in this home, right? And then the organizing products are just meant to
facilitate that flow. Yeah, just to
exactly.
make life easier for you,
Yes.
and for everyone in the family. So getting ready, or like just doing your daily things, your activities, it's just much easier for you.
Yeah. And actually, I watched this video a few weeks back by the minimalist. He actually called out organizing bins and baskets to be clutter coffins.
Where clutter goes to die, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Not always, but sometimes.
Mhm.
I still feel like bins are necessary, to, for example, categorize items sometimes. And otherwise, if you just lay things out on a shelf, they don't get put into a home, right? And then that's where the clutter begins also. So I don't think it's fair to call organizing bins clutter coffins. But if you end up finding a bin that you would call a clutter coffin, it means that the items that are not being used.
And you should just let them go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like
which is pretty much a tool also for decluttering. I feel it's pretty useful.
Yeah, to let you know what's that physical limit that you should not go beyond, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because something visual would help. So when we set up systems in homes, having the bins would allow our clients to know, okay, for example, this bin is for sweets, the next bin is for snacks. You know, you should not exceed this volume as much as you can. Otherwise, it will overflow and then things will have to pile up on the kitchen counters.
Yeah.
So it's really just more like
setting a boundary for yourself.
Yeah,
for our buying habits, right?
exactly.
Because we do live in
Relatively,
a nice country, safe. We can buy whatever we want to buy.
Yeah,
Very privileged. But we also then need to control our habits.
Shopping habits. Yeah, because I mean, if you're like a minimalist like you, if you don't have much and you really want to lay things on the shelf as is, sure, that can be the home per se, but then that's because you're very mindful of your consumption, right? Yeah, for many, many years. It's been your lifestyle already.
It really is a mindfulness kind of thing.
Being very
it's a
discerning.
mindset change.
Yeah, exactly. But once you had that mindset shift, it becomes like second nature, right? It doesn't require effort anymore.
No.
But at the same time, for most of the people that we know and like our clients, we may not be that mindful about our consumption, and that's why having that visual limit, that container, would still help to help you make that call whether or not you should buy more, or maybe I have enough already. Yeah, so I also agree. I don't really think it's fair to call it clutter coffins, but if you really overly consume till things are overflowing and you don't even use them for like years, then yes, then it becomes one, yeah. So yeah.
But I guess our motto is boundaries.
Oh yes.
Not only in terms of the things that we have, right, but also in the things that we do. But that's a topic for another day.
Yes, let's talk about that. I think that's gonna be, we will have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.